Oh boy, okay, so there's a really hot topic going on right now that is centered around this kid, Christian Taylor, here in Arlington, Texas.
You know, I actually went to high school with that kid.
Yeah, that's what I understand. And so, you know, right now, the controversy is, did this kid deserve to get shot and killed? Mm-hmm. Who was this kid? What happened? How did he die? And so, Olivia, you said you went to school with him. Tell us, what did you know of this boy?
Well, when we were in high school together, really seeing this news story kind of blows my mind because it's completely out of character for him. I mean, when we were in high school, he was like the sweetest kid ever. He kind of flocked around with the upperclassmen, but very, very sweet, real attentive and nurturing. And he's always the person that would come up to the girls and lay his head on their shoulder and stuff. He's real sweet. So,
I mean, did he have any tendencies of being a monster or being evil or aggressive, assertive, things like that?
No, not at all. Honestly, it was just super sweet.
Okay, so what do you think happened then? What's your opinion? I mean, you knew the kid. What do you think happened?
He's on something more than anything I've been smoking. He's definitely not in his right mind.
Okay.
I mean, to me though, because people change, you know, when they graduate, and it's been a few years. But what could have happened that dramatic that would cause a change that drastic?
It's hard to say. It could be a lot of things. You know, more than likely, he probably was on something, but you know, he could have had an emotional breakdown. Maybe he wanted to do something to where he would get killed or whatnot. Because wasn't there a tweet that he posted? I don't want to die young.
Right prior to the accident.
Almost as if he said.
Well, what does that mean, though? Like, not to interrupt you, but what does that mean?
To me, I mean, I can't speak for him, but to me, it sounds like he's saying, I don't want to die young, but I feel like I need to die young, or something has been placed in his life that would cause him to, I don't know, be discouraged, depressed, or feeling like taking his life.
It is kind of ironic that tweet happened right before the incident.
Sure. So, I mean, you know, again, I don't know him. I wasn't able to find much information about it, but maybe he had a relationship problem. Somebody, you know, broke his heart. I don't know, but from what you're telling me, someone that rational doesn't do something irrational just, you know,
right,
because he, you know, is
feeling macho.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, here's the facts, though. First off, there is undeniable proof that this kid went on some kind of rampage. I mean, he broke through the dealership.
Sure.
He drove his car through the dealership doors. Prior to that, you see him kind of walking around, destroying vehicles with his own bare hands. I mean, you know, some of the things he did, I felt required some strength.
Well, not only that, but think about it. Like, if I'm breaking a windshield, I'm not kicking it because your foot's going to go in and then you got to pull your foot out, so you're cutting yourself. Like, that's going to inflict pain on you. Mm-hmm. And he did it as if
he wasn't really thinking about the
not only that, but he wasn't feeling the pain.
Right.
So obviously he had to have been on something or some type of substance to allow him to do that and not really realize he was hurting himself.
And, you know, here's the underlining root issue with this whole thing is it's sad. It's a tragic story about this young man, especially that you went to school with him and you knew him, and it's a sad situation. However, I think that the biggest issue is, did the cops use unreasonable lethal force?
And that thing is, we will never know. I mean, you only have somewhat of a soundbite, you know, from when they're calling into the dispatcher, and you only have their testimony.
But I mean, really, any instance where somebody is, and I know this sounds insensitive, but any instance where somebody is committing a crime, especially of that caliber, I mean, you have to be, as a cop, thinking that there might be danger involved. You're going to be armed when you walk up to the situation. He drove his car through the dealership.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But the thing that we don't know is, you know, for instance, like the incident in Ferguson, I supported the police officer because if you rush me, I'm more than likely going to defend myself.
He reached inside of his car.
Right.
As a civilian, if you reach inside my car, you're going to lose a limb.
What we don't know about this instance is, did Christian rush him? Mm-hmm. Was there a violent struggle, or was he actually running away? I mean, we don't know.
Well, we don't know, and we don't have any testimony or any, you know, deposition from the police officers involved. None of that's been released. We don't know if it ever will be. But, you know, you make a good point about the Ferguson thing. Is that really the reason that this is such a big issue? Is because in light of all the police activity that's been going on and the white officers shooting a black person? I mean, Livy, what's your opinion on that?
Well, like I said, I feel like in all these scenarios, the people that are getting shot are committing crimes that are not punishable by murder or by death. I don't know. I don't think the cops are in the wrong. You're asking human beings to play God, and there is going to be some flaws in that.
And that's the one thing, like, again, normally from the conservative side, I'm more for backing the police. But there is, some things that I think there are police officers who take their job maybe a little too serious. Mm-hmm. Maybe they allow the power and the authority they have, and they abuse that sometimes. And I think in such a quick moment, they don't realize the consequences of pulling out a gun and shooting somebody.
Right.
Life is...
I don't know about that. I think you're talking about, you're looking at it from a viewpoint of someone that's never been a police officer. Neither have I. I will say that I do have good friends that are police officers.
Likewise.
I've talked to them quite extensively about it, and I think more so you find that most of them don't ever want to pull their gun out.
Sure, absolutely.
And I think most of them are horrified with the idea that they do have to pull it out and point it at someone, or God forbid, even shoot it and kill someone. And so, I hear what you're saying, but I'm not so sure there's that many overzealous police officers out there that are willing to use excessive force.
However, there are some, though.
There are. You're right. They usually don't want to pull their gun, though. I mean, my dad was a cop for 20 plus years, almost 25 years. Yeah. And he ended up having to retire because he got shot 5 times trying to break up a fight that he could have easily just open fired into.
Right. Yeah. Well, that goes without saying, but I think you're going to find more police officers that are do-gooders versus...
Without a doubt.
Yeah, that's my opinion.
Sure.
I think like in any profession, you're going to have a handful of rogue people, folks, like police officers that do stupid things. Yeah. But I think those cases are fewer and far between, in my personal opinion. However, the media blows this up to be some sort of racial issue. Mm-hmm. They blow it up to make it look like this kid was innocent. He was a great kid. He played football. And maybe he was. You just confirm those things. But the reality of it is people change when they get on substances. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And he could be on something that completely diverted his way of thinking. Take that fella that ate that guy's face.
Down in Florida. He was on some drug called Spice, which is very popular right now to the youth. And it's something that causes them to actually... It gives them incredible strength, and a lot of times they become cannibals and so forth. You and I, Bryan, actually have a friend whose grandson is on Spice.
Oh, wow. And
so he's told me actual things, and you can actually get it in convenience stores, and they're selling it to teens, and they're smoking it and eating it. And
what did he tell you some of the side effects are of it?
Again, just having incredible strength, depression, anger. It causes them to build up with rage inside, and then they just release it all at once, almost sort of like some anger management type person.
Yeah, it's like a superhuman strength situation.
And it eats their brain. Well, obviously all drugs do, but it affects their brain in a certain way to where they even sometimes do crazy things like eat somebody's face.
And it's been sold in convenience stores. It's that easily accessible. That's interesting.
The reality of most drugs is it is easily accessible.
It's just something normal someone abused.
I hate to say that he was on drugs without knowing that for a fact, but based on what you know of the kid, because you've had personal experience with him, he seemed like a pretty even-keeled kid, successful at sports, good student, and all of a sudden he turns into a monster. I mean, there's this crazy Tasmanian devil-like kind of action.
Here's something I did find very interesting, though. His parents came out and made it public that they don't want rallies and they don't want protests and they don't want riots because of everything that's going on, and yet his own brother is setting one up.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And that's where it's really getting bad is, these riots that happen in Ferguson and setting on fire, just because you may feel like some injustice was done, that doesn't give you the right to go out and do more crimes to get your point across.
Here's the obvious thing that we don't know. We don't know what happened whenever the cameras were off, the police officers and this kid, Christian. The sad part of it is, and based on even how you knew him, Olivia, I mean, he sounds like a good kid, and a good kid that just went bad maybe for a short period of time. Just even if it was just spontaneous, that it was just, this was his first and only time. Who knows?
And cost him his life.
It did. It cost him his life. We'll never know the intricacies of what happened, and I think the moral of all this is to really be guarded whenever you decide to try drugs. I mean, especially things such as Spice and things that, you don't know how it's going to affect your system. I mean, it could change your life indefinitely.
And the other thing is this, don't put yourself in a position, if you don't want to get shot, don't put yourself in a position that would allow that to happen. Don't rush a police officer. Don't break in and, just vandalize a bunch of cars and, drive yours through a dealership window. Take responsibility. And if you do a crime, then there are going to be consequences, and you have to be able to accept that. And let's even take it a step further. If you're a parent or a brother or a sibling or a friend, you have to understand that hey, you need to also take responsibility that he did that crime, and that's why he's in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
You can't try to protect him and say, well, he's a good kid, he'd never do that. Well, I mean, he's on camera.
He's doing it.
And
We're
he's doing
watching.
it. So,
Well, there's facts are facts, but here's one thing I'd like to say. As a father, I can only imagine what the parents and even the family is going through the loss of this child. He seemed like he was a sweet kid, had a good head on his shoulders. He just had a bad moment.
sure.
And so here at the Bryan Blue Show, if they're listening, would certainly offer our condolences to his family and hope they can grieve properly. And, in the wake of all this, they can, begin to live their lives and remember who he was.
This